Okay, I apologise. The last video, the autofocus was awful, totally fouled it up. So I'm going to try again. This time we're going to be talking about 4-channel audio with the FX3, and I'll try and get the focus right this time. Let's carry on. Okay, so yeah, I did this video before. I filmed this when I filmed the last one, but I cannot bear to look at that pulsing focus anymore. So I've decided to do the whole thing again. And plus, I get to play with a new toy today. You're watching this on my new Sony 50mm 1.2. So in the last video, I talked about using 2-channel audio on the Sony FX3. And we spoke about using one XLR input, 2 XLR inputs, or using the 3.5mm jack in input 3. So if you're fairly new to shooting using XLR, then I'd highly recommend going and watching that one before this one, because there's a few areas which I'm not going to cover in this video. The first thing we need to do is set up 4-channel audio in the camera's menu. So let's go to the menu now and I'll show you how to do that. We choose the shooting menu, and then we go into audio recording, then go into the MI Shoe audio set and change that setting to 48 kHz, 24-bit, 4-channel. Okay, now we've enabled that. When you look on the back of the camera, instead of seeing the normal 2 audio meters, you should now see 4. So the next thing we need to change is the audio monitoring options, basically so that when you plug your headphones into the camera, you can hear all 4 channels. So go into the menu, Setup, which is at the bottom, and then go Sound option, and then select 4-channel monitoring, and you want to change that to channel 1+3 and channel 2+4. So if you do need to be able to isolate just 2 of the channels, you can go back into this menu at any time and change that. But this is a good starting point when you're recording in 4 channels, because it does give you a good overview of what's going on with the recording. So the first configuration we're going to look at is using an XLR mic into input 1, which will record to both channels 1 and 2, and then also a 3.5mm jack into input 3, which will record to channels 3 and 4. So let's have a look at the audio handle and I'll show you how to set up for this configuration. Set the input select on the rear of the module to in 1. I'm going to set the input 1 attenuation to 0 for my microphone. Next, you want to set the input signal for your mic. I'm setting mic plus 48 volts for my Rode NTG3. And then you want to set input 1 level control to either manual or auto, depending on your requirements. So I have explained what low cut does and the reasons why you might want to use it in the previous video. So go and look at that if you're not sure what low cut does. But for this video, I'm not going to be using that. Okay, for input 2, I'm going to set that to manual. Now, obviously, we don't have a mic connected to input 2, but this is going to be recording channel 2 from the mic in the XLR input 1. And in this case, I'm just going to set it to manual. I'm going to set the level dial to be a little bit below input 1 to give me a lower level option. So after that, you just need to set the input level for channel 3, which is the 3.5mm input. So you just set that according to whatever the mic requires. Now when we look on the back of the camera, you should be able to see all 4 meters moving. So channel 1 and 2 is from the XLR mic, and channel 3 and 4 is from the 3.5mm input. If you'd rather have the audio from input 3 going to channels 1 and 2, you can do that. You just need to change the switch on the back of the audio module, the input select switch, to be on in 3 instead of in 1. By changing it to in 3, it sets that input to have priority, so that will go to channel 1 and 2, and then the remaining 2 channels will go to 3 and 4. Okay, so the final configuration we're going to look at is using 4 separate inputs. So this could be 2 XLRs, so we have an XLR in input 1, an XLR in input 2. And then for the 3.5mm jack, because that's a stereo input, you can either feed in 2 separate mono mics using some kind of splitter cable, which splits each mic into the left and the right channel. Or you can use something like the Rode Wireless Go 2, because that splits the 2 transmitters into the one stereo signal, giving one transmitter feeding the left channel and one transmitter feeding the right channel, which will be fed to channels 3 and 4. Let's go ahead and configure the audio module for using 4 mics. Okay, so you want to set up the input select to in 1, in 2, then set any attenuation levels you need to. I'm going to set both of mine to 0. I'm going to set my input 1 signal to mic plus 48 volts because I'm using the shotgun in there. And then I'm going to set the level control to manual. For input 2, I'm going to be using another XLR shotgun mic, which is this time going to be fitted to the camera. Again, it's going to be on mic plus 48 volts because this is a phantom power microphone. I'm I'm going to set the input control switch to manual so that I can independently control the levels for both shotgun mics. With both XLR mics now connected, I'm going to go ahead and set up my Sony wireless system into the 3.5mm input in input 3. Okay, so the only settings with this one is between auto and manual. So I'm going to choose manual. Then I'm going to set the level using the level dial so that, as with the other channels, the levels are peaking about -12 to -6 dB. Okay, so I've got all of the mics connected now. I've got one shotgun mic above my head, which is going into channel 1. I've got one shotgun mic on the camera, which is going to channel 2. And I've got my Sony wireless mic, which is going to channel 3 and 4. Okay, so you can see here that all 4 channels are showing in this clip. First of all, I'm going to disable the other 3 and we'll just listen to channel 1, which is the shotgun mic, which is above my head. And then we'll switch to channel 2, which is the shotgun mic, which is on the camera. And that should sound a little bit more roomy and probably a little bit quiet because I'm at a little bit of a distance here. And then we'll change to channel 3, and that will be the first channel from the wireless mic. And channel 4 will be identical because, again, this is mono. One other thing you might want to bear in mind when doing 4-channel audio is that if you record to an external recorder via HDMI, say maybe something like the Atomos Ninja, then you can only send 2 channels of audio out to the recorder. Now obviously that's important because if you're shooting something with 4 channels of audio, you've got to remember to keep the clips from the camera as well as what's been recorded in the recorder. One option you do have though, using the menus, is to choose either between channels 1 and 2 or 3 and 4 to send out via the HDMI. So I'm going to show you now how to go and change that setting. So go to menu and then setup and then look for 11 external output. And then go to HDMI output settings and then 4-channel audio output, where you'll be able to choose between channel 1, channel 2 or channel 3, channel 4. So there we go. Hopefully that was useful. If you have any questions, then please just leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And fingers crossed this time it's in focus and that 50mm looks good. But other than that, see you in the next video.